And then the last thing, this is a huge national news affecting thing is revenue sharing. Let me pull up my notes on that because I read an article on CBS by Brandon Marcello. So a lot of the stuff that I'm saying I got from that article. But basically, it wasn't the it's a judge ruled on this, I think, and basically allowed it. But the way it's going to work is each university will have $20.5 million to be distributed among athletes at their discretion. That cap will increase by 4% every year for the next 10 years. And then the settlement also includes $2.8 billion with a B in back payments to athletes who played between 2016 and 2024. So yeah, basically no more of this donors giving money and then the football team just pays their players whatever they want. Um, no more $12.5 million deals for one dude in all likelihood, unless he's just that worth it. There are now limits to how much you can pay people out of pocket. But they did. I do like this. They also are introducing um, NIL, like not introducing, but they are NIL will be sticking around as deals with businesses between players and businesses, which does not fall under the cap. So, um, starting July 1st, all NIL deals will be required to go through a new enforcement entity that confirms the validity of each NIL deal over $600. It'll look at
So,
previous deals and the current situation to be sure that an NIL deal is not in excess of that athlete's fair market value. So that's a huge deal. Is like we have nothing that we've been seeing is at all related to fair market value. Bryce Underwood is not worth the $12.5 million as a freshman. I don't think. Not with no sponsorships or anything. You can't. That's not fair market value for him. So that's super exciting. There are some concerns, and I'm really nervous to see how this goes. Is I don't think that Title IX will apply to this. Um, so the expected distribution is 75% to football, 15% to men's basketball, 5% to women's basketball, and 5% to the remaining sports. And so I think that that could be concerning. And it's not even. I think the thing that concerns me is the reality is this is not settled because there are going to be female athletes who are going to sue and say that this is not fair. And I'm not making a decision about that right now. I'm just the reality is this is not over. This is not the end of a rather ugly era in college athletics when it comes to money being thrown around in insane amounts. Um, we're kind of just, I think we're at the beginning of the end. I'm hoping, but it is definitely not the end. So, thoughts?
I wouldn't even say we're at the beginning of the end, to be honest. It doesn't even feel like that for me.
Yeah.
It feels like we're even further from that. Yeah, this has been it's been an insane era. I wrote a paper about it 4 years ago for Comp 2. Um, Really good paper. Toot my own horn there, but I wrote about the NIL and how it needed to be regulated and it needed, more importantly, to be educated to these people because these are young, impressionable men and women. And a lot of these spots, these are first time college students or coming from families that are not financially well off. And that is an extreme problem when dollar signs are thrown in front of you historically. Money is something that controls the world. It is discussed every single day. And seeing money in front of your face, even for us at this age, it's powerful. And I'm sure you've experienced as well, just even with $500 that you've just spent stupidly on something you didn't need to. It is no different for these college athletes with $100,000. The difference is the golf clubs become a $50,000 car and stuff like that. Um, so I am though glad that we are taking that step forward. A big deal in that is the validity of these sponsorships and these NIL deals, I think that's a huge issue.
Yeah.
Um, because at this point, it is just paying guys out of pocket, and that for me was what I wanted NIL to be originally. Was these players deserve to be paid for their likeness. They deserve to be paid for their marketability, and right now they are just paid for being on the team, and I am fine with that. And I think that has to be a portion of it, but it can't be 95% of it. The You should be paid, in my opinion, a salary no different that you than you are paid for being on a professional team, but the amount and the difference between the two is just way too much. I don't think it should be any more than 50% of what you're paid should be your salary for playing for these teams. But a big step in the process. We There's so many more steps to occur. And in reality, I don't, like I said at the beginning, I don't think we're anywhere close to an end in anything. The playoff is going to continue to expand. Um, More and more money is going to flow into the sport with media deals, and it's only going to get more ugly, in my opinion. I don't think we're at a spot with college athletics that we're going into a good spot until there's a figurehead, a president, or whatever you want to call them, that is governing all of college athletics, or even better, governing all of one sport of college athletics. Having a commissioner over basketball and a commissioner over football, that would be best for the sport. And until that is the case, it's really just a bunch of guys in Peter Millar polos and nice Lexuses that are making the decisions, and not um, the people that should be.
Yeah. I think the saddest thing, and I think I was talking to Jack about this, and we may have talked about this on a previous podcast, but I'll say it again, is right now all the decisions are being made by people who are focused on the money and how to monetize it and how to maximize the money. And Jack made the really good point that that's kind of always been the case. That the people making the decisions have for a long time been thinking about the money, but there just wasn't as much money in it as there is now. And so you didn't notice and you weren't as aware because the decisions didn't impact everyone at the same level. Um, so I That's really sad. And I agree that I don't think that this is going to get solved by court rulings and
Mhm.
presidential, like President Trump signed something a couple weeks ago creating a committee on college athletics headed by Nick Saban. Um, and I don't think that that's going to solve it. I don't really know. I don't know that we're going to see this thing fixed under the NCAA. We'll have to kind of wait and see. They just have no power, and it could get worse. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'm excited for this thing though. I think this is going to be really good for at least in the immediate future until someone figures out how to break it or abuse it, or someone generates a lawsuit and the NCAA goes, okay, never mind, this didn't work, and just gets scraps it all. Um, I like the thought process though behind this revenue sharing and NIL like validation. I think that this is the right track. I think this is the right area to be in. Is we're never going to get back to a place where athletes are not being paid. So I think this is the right area to be in, even if it's not all locked in yet. So yeah,
Well said.